No matter what you think about narrations in film, Ikiru nailed it. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jordan. I love watching movies and then I review them by answering 3 different categories. The one thing I liked, the one thing I hated, and the one thing I would change. And today's video, I'm reviewing Ikiru. With that said, let's dive on in. Ikiru is a Japanese film made in the 50s about an older man who lives a pretty boring life and plays by the rules. He learns he has about 6 months to a year to live because he has stomach cancer. This rattling news sends him down an existential crisis because now he's living in the shame that he hasn't been living life the way he wanted to live or should have lived. In learning of his news, Watanabe, our protagonist, hangs out with 2 younger people on separate occasions who teaches him how to bring life back into his life. And in a desperate way to rectify what he has lost over the past years, Watanabe tries to figure out how he can contribute to society to make it better. The question is he going to do it for family, for coworkers, for strangers, or for work? The one thing I loved about this movie was the storytelling. To me, these types of stories are pretty invoking because it allows me to reflect on my own life in that moment. What I also loved about the film was how it nailed the exposition in an intriguing way. Now, if you've watched my last videos, you'll know that my biggest critique lately is weak exposition. The way Ikiru starts off is with an x-ray scan of a stomach, and the narrator comes in and says, "This is a stomach that has stomach cancer." And then it pans to our protagonist, who's in a mind-numbing task. And the narrator says, "This is our protagonist. He has about 6 months to live and he has no clue. But he will find out soon." The narrator then tells us, "Oh, by the way, your protagonist is very boring right now. And we're not gonna waste your time with the boring parts. So we're just going to show you when he learns about the news and how that affects him." I just love that bit. Right there, that tells me who my protagonist is, and it starts sparking curiosities of what has he been doing with his whole life? How is he going to react when he learns about the news? Or like why he hasn't changed? Like there's just so many questions that are going to my mind. To me, I think this is great exposition that tells you just a little bit of what you need to know right there, and then sparking your curiosity to continue forward. And when the narrator is in, he does that throughout the whole film. He just gives you little nuggets of what you need to know that makes you want to keep on going. So if you are a screenwriting student, I highly recommend watching this film because I do believe this narration is very effective. I don't think I'm going to spoil the movie, but I just want to be cautious. I want to be courteous to you. Maybe don't want to hear the next 2 parts. Watch at your own discretion. The one thing I hated about Ikiru was how long it was. I think it's coming at about 2 hours and 40 minutes. I felt that the film had a really good pacing for the first 2/3 of the film until the last bit when you get to see Watanabe's funeral reception. In this scene, there are government officials, his family, co-workers. However, the scenes seem to drag on way too long. Like the moment that happened, that's when I wanted to take my phone out, and that's not that good. The reception dragged on quite a bit because Watanabe did something really good to the community, and the mayor took all the credit for it. And so the whole scene after the government officials did their moment where they were there, looks good for them, and then they left, all of Watanabe's co-workers and other people who were a part of the project that he did, they started talking with each other, trying to figure out kind of why Watanabe did it in the first place. Watanabe was a very passive man before, and so they just wanted to know why all of a sudden he had this drastic change and was pushing for this project to the point where his life depended on it. And during that time, you would get flashbacks of the moment when Watanabe was working on his projects, because before he finally figures out what he wants to do and then bam, goes to his funeral. And you're like, what? Come on. So this part was like 30 to 40 minutes long. Totally could have been cut down to 10 minutes. I did not really see the purpose of the talking with each other. However, that's how the filmmaker wanted to do it. So, like, I think I get the intent is like, hey, how do you want to be talked about when you're gone? To me, it just dragged on. And I'm like, just show me what he did, make me cry, and then end the film. The one thing I would change about Ikiru is the father-son relationship that Watanabe has with his son. Watanabe is an older man. He has an adult son who's, I think, probably around his 30s right now with a wife who's living in Watanabe's house, by the way. Throughout the beginning of the film, you do get to see a little bit of Watanabe's relationship with his son in the past. His wife died when his son was probably around, I would say 6, maybe 5 or 6. And then you see little snippets of them growing up, like Watanabe's at his son's baseball game when he's a late teenager. There's some really good moments there where a film is just trying to set up this relationship and you're wondering, okay, so when did it start breaking up? I do want to point out that in the very beginning of the film, Watanabe's son and his wife are discussing how he is going to try and get his inheritance from his dad before his dad dies. I think that's what the discussion was. He was just trying to get some early money that he did not have access to right now. But at the same time, Watanabe knows he has stomach cancer and he wants to tell his son, but he just couldn't. Every single time he has the opportunity in the film, he backs down, he shuts out, he's silent. So you can see how there's just a lot of building up this relationship. You have so many questions about it. The motivations, are they gonna reconcile? Are they just gonna stop? Are they going to get into some drama? Like something. But then nothing happens. So what happens is you get all this setup and then it cuts to the funeral. And so you're thinking, okay, maybe there might be some backlog stuff that we don't know yet. But during the reception, when all the coworkers are talking for about 30, 40 minutes, the son just gets pushed into the background as if he's just a background character. To fix this up, in my own opinion, I think instead of making the son a bystander in the funeral reception, they should have put him more forward and had him become more of an active character in that scene. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. I gave it a 4 on Letterboxd. Yeah, it was a little too long and some of the subplots never found its destination. However, the story was grappling. A lot of screenwriters know that when you use a narrator, you have to be very careful because it's either a hit or miss. And I thought that this film hit the bullseye. The narrator wasn't a huge part of the film. Actually, when he was on screen, he was very simple in his language, yet he made me think deeply. Like, it's hard to explain this narration unless you've seen the movie. And I highly recommend you go see the movie. Now, if you don't have a streaming service, you don't want to rent it or anything, go get it at the library. I have a library card, and that's how I watch a lot of my films now. I don't have a lot of money to be getting every single subscription or renting tons of movies or buying them. However, the library is really nice because it is free to get a library card and it's free to rent these movies. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments section if you thought that this film was too long, too short. Maybe you agreed with me, maybe you don't. I want to know. Just write it in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post every Wednesdays and Saturdays, And if you hit that bell, it will remind you when I post a video, so then you don't have to miss it. I do have a letterbox, which I'll put in the description below. Go ahead and give me a follow, and you'll get a sneak preview of all the films that I'm going to make videos on. Who wouldn't want a little sneak preview? Until next time, go stock up on that popcorn, go stock up on that candy, and I'll see you in my next video.